There are many jobs that require welding, soldering, cutting, or other operations that produce heat, sparks, or flames. This category of tasks is what the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, refers to as hot work. If heat guns, blow torches, drills, or grinders are part of your work environment, then implementing an effective hot work permit program is critical to minimizing the potential for fires and explosions. Before any hot work can take place, the need for the work should be weighed against any possible fire risks. For example, in the construction industry, welding and cutting operations are very common. However, OSHA prohibits hot work operations unless appropriate steps are taken to minimize potential hazards. When compressed gases are involved, as with oxygen-fueled gas welding, for example, then the operations must also meet the requirements in OSHA Standard 29 CSF 1910.253. Employers need to ensure that adequate controls and procedures are in place before any hot work begins. But employees also have to take responsibility for safety. It's their responsibility to follow the company's procedures and be aware of the hazards associated with any work that could cause sparks or flames. Now let's turn our attention to some of the specifics of an OSHA-compliant hot work program. OSHA requires that each separate operation and work site be inspected and issued its own hot work permit. The purpose of this permit is to ensure that the work area complies with safety requirements before work begins and while work is being carried out. Any uncontrolled ignition source can cause a fire or explosion when you're doing hot work. That's why the hot work permit provides a step-by-step checklist of safety precautions for the supervisor, operator, and fire watch to follow before, during, and after the work. The permit also serves as a visual warning tag at the work site. Posting the company's written hot work policy and procedures in a visible area emphasizes their importance. A key element of the policy is that no person can perform a cutting or welding operation outside a designated area without an approved permit. But what is a designated area? It's an area where specific welding operations are regularly performed, a space constructed of non-combustible or fire-resistant materials and cleared of combustible and flammable content, like paper and compressed gases. The designated area should also be cut off from adjacent areas. Companies often use blanket work permits at work sites, so they aren't required to get a separate hot work permit for each task. In these cases, the designated area must have a permit issued by the permit authorizing individual, or PAI, and it must be posted at the work site and evaluated periodically. Hot work can also be conducted in a permit-required area, which is made fire-safe by removing or protecting combustibles from ignition sources. These zones are generally temporary in nature and used for specific hot work procedures. Each time hot work is allowed outside a designated area, a new hot work permit is required. Permits are typically retained for 1 year for annual program reviews. The effective implementation of a hot work permit program minimizes the risk of using spark-producing power tools in the workplace. Let's pause here so you can practice what you've learned by answering some questions.